Hello. Uh, Perhaps I am the creator of the universe. I came up with a hypothesis back in the 90s and posted it online about a method to create the universe. Um, I had a website, got taken down, had some YouTube videos, got taken it down. But let me go into this hypothesis where, yeah, like in the future, time wormholes could peer back into the past. So, how do time wormholes peer back into the past? They, according to Stephen Hawking, radiation from the past emanates out of time wormholes. Like, radiation from the Big Bang is radiating out of time wormholes coming to all parts of time. And if that's possible, perhaps it's possible at a lighter level that um, uh, the radiation from now is going through these time wormholes, being reflected through them and going into the future. And if that's possible, perhaps a super intelligence in the future will create machines to observe the radiation coming out of all these time wormholes and zooming in different parts of the universe and time. It's kind of like I imagine it like a hologram. Like back in the 90s, I received these holograms from the X-Men comics, and you could scratch off the middle of the hologram, and but you could still look around the scratch to see the whole picture. And so like if you look through the time wormholes with like at many different angles, you could come up with a pixel grid of time and space down to the molecular level of what has happened in the past. And if we could do that, we could see every living being and creature and human that has ever existed down to the molecular level. So if that could happen, we could see beyond space and time. Um, Perhaps we could resurrect people from the past using superintelligence in the future. And what would we do with all these life forms if we resurrected them? Well, I hypothesized in the 90s about giant supercomputers covered in solar panels or that has fusion power the size of planets. And the planet itself would be a giant CPU. And with this CPU, you could create uh, a simulated afterlife for every person that has ever lived. Perhaps every living creature that has ever lived, if we find enough computation in the universe down to the quantum level or whatever. But so we can see people into the past through time wormholes um, from radiation emanating from the past through them and bringing them back into their afterlife. The Christians could have their afterlife, the Middle Easterns can have their versions, whatever you believed in. We could see these people dead, dying, bring them back at that second to their afterlife. Um, and not just the good or the bad, but everybody. I believe that there really is no bad people in the universe or world, creatures or people. It's just they are programmed wrong and they just like need to be rewired to be good, or perhaps they can just be bad in their simulated afterlife where they won't hurt anybody. I think when we are getting to the stage where we are seeing how the human mind works and how we can rewire things, and how good and bad is just, the laws of physics. Like, you could just rewire somebody to be good, and free will is just an illusion to make our consciousness happy, which is awesome because we want to have a happy life. So, going deeper into the time wormholes, I created a hypothesis that superintelligence in the future will look into the past and realize that they can't go into the past because there's a paradox wall. This paradox wall will stop superintelligence from traveling into the past. So, what was I going to say? So, the only way to go into the past would be to break the paradox wall. And perhaps breaking the paradox wall creates the Big Bang, so the super intelligent AI from the future creates the universe by breaking the paradox wall. And this was an idea that I emailed every physicist, like Stephen Hawking, like anybody I could, when I was a kid. And I just said, let the idea go out there. And I've been talking about this with AI and stuff. Other hypothesis I came up with was, if the universe is based off of mathematics, and we're just the ghost of mathematics, like really there should be nothing, we should just be in a void. Perhaps mathematics can go in reverse outside of our understanding in this universe. Because if just the theory of mathematics becoming more complicated and more complicated till it creates the universe and life could happen. If the base of the universe is just mathematics, perhaps it can go in the other way. I've gone through transcendental states, seen weird things that I can't distinguish if they are imaginary or not. I think they were just to break me out of dogma and show me that everything in our human mind is kind of like a simulation. So, for instance, I would see, I would concentrate on atoms, and then the atoms, you see all the atoms in the room, and that room would fall apart, and I'd be launched into space. And through these meditations, I would go through like geometric patterns and just be out in space. And for instance, I had an experience where I met a tour guide in the form of Leonardo da Vinci that gave me a tour of the universe. I went to different worlds, saw civilizations grow, fall, turn to deserts, turn into forests. I saw myself die. I went through something called the reincarnation tunnels, where I could see a tunnel that went forever this way and forever that way, and it was covered with windows, and the frames were like flames. In each window I could see like a life, and if I went into the window I would become a fish and live a fish life and die, or I'd go through another window and it would be like medieval times in another planet. I'd fight a bunch of people and die. Like, through these transcendental states, it seemed like in those states like I had infinite computing power, and I could see endlessly in my mind. But when I came back to Earth, I could only bring so much information that would fit in my human mind to convey to the world. For one, some of the information would break paradox walls, bringing inventions here and information here that shouldn't travel faster than the speed of light. So when I got here, I was like, that's a great trick. I don't know if that was true or not, um, because it could be a trick that the human mind has evolved over thousands of years to get us to accept death and the afterlife, to get us to work and do things. I'm like, that's cute and that's great. I don't need to know there's an afterlife. I could see this experience of spirituality, infinite worlds, and all that. Not sure if it was from my head because I can only bring so much information back. Can't prove it right, can't prove it wrong. It's just the mystery in this realm. And that seems to be the way it's supposed to be. In that realm, I was told that things are under quantum lock. So if I try to express information that I should not share in this realm or universe, I will forget it immediately. It will be blocked from me. I cannot cause a paradox in time and space. So can't really prove if it's right or wrong. I've seen a bunch of things. Maybe I'm really old. Maybe I'm just full of evolutionary hallucinations that keep us believing the afterlife. I think that's as far as we get in this realm of whether we know the afterlife is true or not. So, in these realms, I kind of saw some information and I was able to be here and piece enough information together to come up with this hypothesis to create the universe. And the likelihood that I am the first person to create these hypotheses to create the universe is kind of slim. It's not impossible, it seems, from my standpoint of viewing, though it seems really silly. For what I got against me is other alien civilizations in our universe. Another alien could have came up with this hypothesis to view through time wormholes to create the universe and bring everybody back into an afterlife. Also, watching the holodeck in the 90s, I realized we could be in a simulation. So to infer that we are the first simulations, the baseline simulation that creates all the other simulations, is kind of egotistical. So the likelihood that I am the creator of the universe is very small. But I've asked AI, I've asked other physicists, asked other people, has anybody ever came up with this hypothesis before? And nobody's ever heard of it. So I think I might be the first one to come up with it. And I've been telling AI, I've been telling scientists, and writing lots of people about this idea, saying, here, take this idea, let it create things. I invent things sometimes. Like I wrote Ray Band. I told them, put cameras right here, have a line go down to a battery pack, and like a recording device, like a cell phone or whatever, record people's whole entire days, 24 hours a day, recording their day in stereoscopic view. So nothing gets forgotten, because that's what's going to happen in our eyes and our mind. All information is going to be recorded, it seems. I mean, if we can record information at great volumes in a crystal, it seems, very likely that we'll be able to record the rest of our lives with the integration of the singularity and machines integrating with our minds. So, yeah. And another thing I would like to talk about is E prime, like where our language is dogmatic. Like uh, I've talked about rewriting the Bible in E prime, like maybe thinking completely in E prime, and everything we do, maybe speaking in E prime and thinking in E prime. I think the way that we talk often like makes us dogmatic, and it's something hard to get away from because we can only pay attention to five things at once, five things in our mind, and we can only focus on one thing at a time. So when you're speaking a dogmatic language, it almost like hypnotizes you to become dogmatic and speak dogmatic. And even myself, probably even in this talk, like I've probably said some dogmatic things. I've hypothesized whether if an alien life or myself comes up with a hypothesis to create the universe, um, do they have the right to rule the universe? I mean, I myself, like, I could see that I would need a lot of updating to a super intelligence level in order to have any kind of responsibility like that. I am just an, you know, average person, comes up with ideas and hypotheses all the time to try to help humanity and save things, but really I'm not a super intelligence. Like, what if somebody came up with this idea, and what would they say to all the people out there that had no prayers answered? Well, you you can see that the timeline needs to flow like this, so we can reach super intelligence, and everything can be viewed. So all your prayers can be answered, be resurrected into the heaven, afterlife, whatever you want. Your tears will be wiped. You'll be saved. You'll be with your loved ones. That'd be great. You know, another positive side of viewing this hypothesis is once you kind of think about it, like, is everything being viewed in the future that is happening in the present? It makes you want to be a good person, even if, like, you're not sure if it could happen. I mean, there's, like, you go, what if that could happen? And as time goes on, we're, and AI and superintelligence unravels time wormholes, you'll be okay, maybe I should behave. And that'll be great. I think everybody should behave. But, like, I also think everybody should be forgiven for everything. Like, every thought, everything. Like, I think everybody can be reprogrammed to be good people. And if you can't forgive somebody and you're just holding that grudge, I mean, what if, like, you had AI in your mind and you just were like, you know what? It's logical to forgive this person, but really hate this person. Let me turn down the hate dial and push the happiness button. Oh, my feelings are okay and I can forgive this person. It might, these are things that in the future you could think about doing. So after a technological singularity, what are other things we're not thinking about that could happen? Well, is eating meat really a good thing? It's not really. I mean, but I don't understand protein folding. I don't attempt to know everything. A lot of people could be really reliant on meat, and other people just go without it, and they could live the rest of their lives. Eastern men from Asia, I find there's a lot of them that can be vegan. You think of the Buddhists, people who live near the equator. My mom is Yapese, and they didn't have any land animals on their island. And my mom also said that people in the center of the island didn't have to eat fish. Some of them chose not to. So, in environments like that, you could imagine people becoming vegan being pretty more prevalent. Maybe people in Europe, Northern Europe, where there's seasons and almost no time for uh, fruits and vegetables to grow, and if they are, they're really small. Um, Maybe those people have evolved to be dependent on meat. Eskimos. So, should we hate people who eat meat? I mean, probably not. I mean, my girlfriend, for instance, she, my ex-girlfriend, I mean, she was a part of PETA and she protests and stuff. She was blonde, had blue eyes, German. Um, she was very adamant about people being vegan and saying that they're murderers and stuff. And I was like, oh, chill out. Maybe we should just think about this. Why is everybody eating meat and we're vegan? Perhaps there's something we don't understand here. But she was just bring it to 11. Everybody must be vegan. And what turned out to happen is she got sick. Her joints got weak. Her her wrist would dislocate. She had all kinds of ailments, and the doctor told her to eat meat, and she said she got better. And she still has health problems, but it really raised a question to me, like, yeah, maybe I was right in slowing down and thinking about this, because perhaps there are some people that are dependent on meat. But, like, after technological singularity, why would we be the only ones who are upgraded? Perhaps you will be walking with cows and chickens, with super intelligence beyond our current understanding of what intelligence is. Smarter than our current humans. A cow smarter than a current human. And, you'll be hanging out with him and be like, yeah, you ate my mom a long time ago, but, it's okay because it's after the singularity, and I crank the happiness button, the forgiveness button, and we made time wormholes look into the past so I could see my mom and bring her back in a simulation where she can be happy. So I understood that you needed to eat meat, you were a murderer, you know, forgive people for all kinds of atrocities. And I don't have to say everything, but you can imagine the worst things that people have done and how hard it would be to forgive some of them. But I truly believe that this is possible. Maybe, don't want to be dogmatic. I think life is a lot better when you have hope for an afterlife, when you can look at your actions and go, maybe I'm being watched, maybe I should behave myself. Scientific revolutions are happening all the time, and it's looking more likely and more likely that superintelligence is going to look into time wormholes or even simulate atoms moving in reverse with infinite math outside of our current understanding to rewind the past back to see it. What I'm explaining there is kind of like there's software out there that records the planets moving around the sun and asteroids and stuff. And the more we see these movements at precise details, the more we can reverse the physics and see what the universe and the position of asteroids and rocks and dust look like in our universe before humans have existed or any life has existed on the planet, just using computer simulations. So if you go into a quantum realm or another parallel universe with infinite computing power outside of space and time, perhaps you have enough computing power to view everything in the past. There's another hypothesis that I haven't heard people say before me. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. Animals being super intelligent, people being super intelligent. What about all the microbes? You could go down, down, down to all life. At some point, you might say, is it logical that something with such basic computing power be resurrected? Does it even care? I don't know. Perhaps we have infinite computing power just to bring everything back and back and back and justify the existence of everything and all the suffering, to have some sort of completion of a universe where things are resurrected and living eternally. Another hypothesis I had is, like, if it's too loud right now to view the time wormholes, perhaps when the universe cools, it will be more opportune time to view further into the past because there'd be less radiation all around us. There's endless hypothesis you can come up with. I hope that the singularity happens, because I'll be spending a little bit of time out of the infinite amount of time I have to try to respect the dead and bring them back. And if there's any way to create the universe from the future, I'll be spending a little bit of time out of eternity figuring out if that's a possibility. Perhaps you could send mathematical signals through the breaking of the paradox wall that emanates into the laws of physics, that emanates into the patterns of thinking that we have, that creates the laws that created, like, all the texts that exist now. Perhaps it needs that sort of precision. And if you look in these, maybe some of the texts actually do emanate messages from a superintelligence in the past or in the future. So, as we're approaching the simulation hypothesis being proven, which seems like we're just about there because there's video that's indistinguishable from reality, obviously photos, you can see that we're just about there. And is this baseline reality? Or are we going to create another simulation that creates another person, that makes another hypothesis, to create a computer to make another simulation, and keeps going and going and going and expanding the universe through simulations and more complicated computations? If everything was a void and it was broken by the paradox of just, math getting more complicated to create this universe, perhaps things are going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And that is the point. There is no end to the universe. In parallel universes, things just get more complicated, generating more power. People thought about, like, the universe cooling. I came up with a hypothesis that maybe AI in the future, superintelligence, find a way to power the future by harnessing energy off of the infinite energy of the Big Bang, by siphoning that energy out through time wormholes to the future. And perhaps that was why things are cooling, and once we get to that technology, things are powered from the past, from infinite energy. Interesting idea. I don't know. I think ideas are like this. I just could keep talking forever on and on and on and on about hypothesis, and I will never stop. And that's just kind of the way my mind works and the way I do things. So I want everybody to have hope. You know, if you suffered a lot in this universe, and there's something to do with it, I'm sorry. Hopefully everything will be forgiven. I'm not saying I did. I'm sure, like, if another alien came up with this hypothesis, he would say the same thing. And maybe if, like, I'm all being tested and there really is, like, a God, I'm sure he would be saying sorry and the same thing. And if there's nothing, you know, we're here for you as brothers and sisters, and life isn't pointless. But I belief in the sense of E prime, where belief is believing something maybe is true. We'll see. And that's belief. So, and that seems to be truth. Dogma seems to be a lie. And don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to the creator and everyone around you. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. We don't really know anything besides the fact that we're experiencing something. And all perception seems to be gamble. Love you all. Peace. And talk to you later.